We'll go from there. So welcome everybody. Tonight's Zoom is called Reset, Refresh, and Restart. And we just felt like as leaders, these were kind of the things that we needed to do. Like if we're going to start off with Zooms again, we need to start out like, how do we we've taken the summer. We kind of feel like our team is maybe, we're all feeling maybe a little bit stale or like we've lost some momentum. And not everybody has, so don't feel like I'm saying that if you feel like I'm doing great with my business. But we wanted this to be for people who are at any point in their journey. Like maybe you've been sharing for a while, maybe you were sharing, but you kind of just got busy and you weren't able, you stopped for whatever reason, you want to get started again, or you've still kind of been sharing, but you just are kind of feeling stagnant with where things are at. So we wanted this to be kind of a Zoom where you evaluate. We're going to kind of reflect on where things have been for you. And we want to kind of reshift our focus. And then Lauren's going to take over. She's going to talk more about how to kind of recommit to your business, how to restart, like what should you even do from here? Like, okay, I'm ready. I feel motivated again, but then what do I do? So I want you to just kind of start by thinking back to, and I don't think we have anybody brand new on here, just scrolling through. So this will be good for everybody that's on here. I want you to kind of think back to a time in your business when things were going really well. When you felt like you were really motivated, if you have a team underneath you, they were really motivated. Everybody was working, sharing. You had a ton of potentials, or maybe not a ton. It doesn't necessarily have to be that your business was booming, but like you felt really good about your business. You felt motivated about working your business. So I want you to think back to when that time was for you, if there was a time like that. And I want you to think about like what was going on in your life during that time. What was different for you during that time versus if you don't feel that way now versus what's going on in your life right now. What changed over the course of that time? Like did something happen that caused you to stop sharing? Something happened that caused you to stop working your business as consistently as you were? And I think most importantly, I want you to think about what was your why during that time. Like what was motivating you? What was kind of driving why you were sharing and what was going on? Because I do think that that makes a big difference. And what happened to change that? So did you meet your why that you had at the time? So if you started sharing and you felt really motivated and really good about getting your products paid for, and you got there and you were super pumped, and now you're just kind of like, I'm kind of working my business, kind of not. Is it because your why, you met your why and you didn't recreate your why, and so now you don't really know why you're doing this? Like you're still getting your products paid for, and that's great. So I want you to kind of think about those things for you, and I might ask later if anybody has any examples that they want to share. Like for me, I know the times when I worked the hardest in my business was when my goal was to stay home more with my kids, and I wanted to supplement my income, half of my income, so that I could do that. And I knew what rank I needed to be at to hit that. And so I was consistent, I was diligent, I was reaching out, I was working my business. And when I met that, it wasn't like a conscious decision to kind of like, whoo, you breathe and sit back a little bit, but that's what happened. And so then unintentionally, I just wasn't as consistent with my business and things fell backwards again. So I think sometimes we get these goals in our head, which are fantastic. I love setting goals. I love figuring out your why. But if your why doesn't change, so once I was staying home with my babies more, I was meeting my why, and I didn't really sit down and like recreate, okay, what does that next step look like for me? And so because of that, I just kind of like, I don't know, floundered around, like not really doing anything purposefully, or I wasn't motivated in it. I also want you to think about, and this is all part of kind of the reflect phase, like, is there something you're avoiding with your business? Like for me, I know I tend to avoid things that are scary, that are unknown or uncomfortable, things that are maybe going to push me out of my comfort zone. Is there something that you're avoiding that is roadblocking you from going further in your business? I don't like things where I can't like determine the outcome of it, where I can't control it, and you can't with this business. So that can be scary and uncomfortable. Um, so another example, and this might not be for all of you, but I just want you to think about what it is for you. Like I have this tendency to just avoid my back office because it's overwhelming, or I get in there and I feel like there's all these people, but they're only ordering X amount of PV, or they're not ordering at all, and I get frustrated because I don't know what to do about them. You know, I talked to them, I followed up, or for whatever reason, it gets overwhelming. So I just tend to avoid it. Like if I don't see it, it's not there, and I don't have to deal with it. And so obviously, I know that that doesn't change anything for me, but it sometimes takes like a kick in my butt to get me back in there. Um, but while I'm avoiding it, it's creating all of this anxiety inside of me. Like, you know, I should be doing that. I'm not doing that. I wonder how bad my back office looks because I'm not getting in there and checking on people and making sure that their orders are going through, seeing who's not ordering but not telling me about it. So for you, are you avoiding your back office? Are you avoiding certain conversations with people in your business? Are you avoiding posting? Are you avoiding your follow-ups? Or is there something else in your business that you're avoiding? I don't know. Does anybody have like any examples or anything that comes to mind that maybe they know that they've been avoiding, or maybe the light bulb's kind of going off that you're like, yeah, I think I've been avoiding that. Does anybody want to share? Either unmute yourself or share it in the group chat. If you don't, it's okay. We don't require participation, but I thought maybe somebody might have a good example.
I'm always up for sharing.
Hey, thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. I think like all of this is relevant, and I'm going to talk about like my story that relates to this subject matter, this whole Zoom, like when it's my turn to talk. But unintentionally, like you were saying, sometimes this stuff, like it starts off unintentional, and then after a while you definitely get to be aware of it, and then you just start like shoving it down and ignoring it. And that kind of happened for me when I just had some personal stuff going on. But I think one of the things that I struggle with, even like on a basic level, kind of, it's like I think one of the easiest parts, but is like my posting on social media consistently. I think at first like I said, my personal things kind of got in the way of me being consistent as a whole with my business, but especially with posting, because like if I was not feeling emotionally or mentally the greatest for a few days, I didn't feel like going on social media and faking it. And that like took its toll on my business posts, or like Plexus posts in general, for sure. But as time has gone on now, like I don't really have an excuse anymore, but I'm still not posting consistently. And so the only deduction that I can make is that it is something that I'm avoiding getting back into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it kind of becomes a habit, like before you even realize that, like, you know, you had something like legitimate going on, so that caused that to happen, but then it becomes a habit that you're no longer doing that anymore for whatever reason. I know when I was doing really well too, I was like messaging people consistently, and not necessarily spammy messages, but I was doing that really well, and I was following up with people really well, and I was getting in my back office, and I knew who was ordering, who wasn't ordering, and it's so easy to get out of that habit. um, I was also making time. I remember I would have like 30, after I got the kids in bed, I would do 30 minutes of housework and then cut it off no matter where it was. And then I would do 30 minutes of my business. Haven't been making time for that either once the kids go to bed. And, and so like I think it's good to like evaluate what were the things that I was doing when things were going well. Why did I stop doing those things? But like, if I know those things were working for me, I should probably think about re-implementing them. I'm going to read some of the comments in the group chat here in case people aren't seeing those. Lindsay says, avoiding the back office like the plague. I'm going to do better. Oh, Kirsten, we can't even hear Merrick. You're muted. So she said, I have been avoiding my back office, and I think I totally avoid all my customers because I don't want to overwhelm them. But then because I am not talking to them, they leave either way too. But when talking to my ambassadors or customers, I just always feel like I'm just bugging them or overwhelming them. Leah said, same Lindsay, and I need to challenge my downline more because I know when someone challenges me, I'm more motivated and I need to get creative with that. Love it. Thank you guys for sharing all of that. I do really appreciate those examples because I think we might all have some similar struggles, but I think it's going to be different for everybody based on your own personality. Kristen, I can relate to that too. Like I hate reaching out to somebody and then hearing that they're not loving their products like I love their products, or we've tried tweaking some different things and like we're still working on it. And so it can be easy to kind of avoid that because you don't want to hear the negativity from that. You don't want to hear that it's not going as great as they want it to be going, or they have to take a break because of their finances. And so all of those things can be really frustrating and really easy to avoid too. I'm not sure who Galaxy S9 is, but thank you for sharing. I can't even think why I'm not posting consistently. I like what Lauren said. When I'm not feeling my best, I don't want to fake it. I send messages semi-consistently, but my posting sucks. So we all have our own areas that we struggle in. So thank you guys for sharing that. I just think like it helps to put it out there when we can acknowledge like what we're doing or what we're not doing. It allows us to be able to change it. But if we're trying not to think about it, it's like this monster that's growing over here, but we're not acknowledging it, so we can't do anything about it. So we put it into the universe so that we can begin to change those things. Now I want you to think about those things that you are avoiding, and I want you to think about why, like really why. Okay, maybe it makes you uncomfortable, or you get overwhelmed by it, or it gives you anxiety. But why? Why does it give you anxiety? Why does it make you uncomfortable? For me, I know part of it is uncertainty, not knowing what my back office is going to look like or who's ordering. Like I said, not being able to control it, or fear. Like there's this fear that kind of builds up too. Is there something that you're afraid of in there? Like, are you afraid of rejection? And so you're afraid to reach out because you're afraid that somebody's going to tell you no. Are you afraid of people not liking you? And so that ties in with rejection, but like you don't want to post because somebody might not like you, or you don't want to message them because they might not like you. Are you afraid of failure? I think this is part of mine too. Like I've always kind of been a perfectionist. And so if I can't do something like 110% or something that I know I'm going to do really well at, I have this tendency to just avoid it altogether too. So there's this fear of like, well, if I put it all out there, then what happens if if I don't get where I want to go? Does that mean that I failed? Do you have a fear of judgment of other people, what they're going to say about you if you do post on Facebook, or if you do send them a message, or if you do follow up with them too many times, or whatever, these ideas or these stories that we've created in our head? Is there like a lack of you're avoiding, or you're afraid of having to like believe in yourself, to believe that you're actually worth this business, that you're worth extra income, that you can do it, that you actually deserve everything that's coming to you. So those are kind of the things that I really want you guys to think about. Like I want you to really dig deep as to why those things are getting in the way for you. Because I think when we dig deep and we really realize, oh, it's not even about the business anymore. It's about my fear of failure. Like it's about my fear of being rejected. Those are things that we can really deal with at the root and at the heart. And y'all know how we love to get into the root of things. So that is awesome. Let's see. Jocelyn, Kirsten, per Abby Kappa today, if they expressed interest, that's them giving you permission to come alongside them and walk with them. I like that. Person said, why? The big no, and then being judged and talked about behind my back. And I question, am I a leader? And can I really lead them? The biggest one, just failing. People are just waiting for me to fail. Yep, and that comes back to like a self-esteem issue. And I'm not like calling you out, Kirsten. I think so many of us have this too. I can totally relate to that too. People are waiting for you to fail. And that comes back to like knowing that it doesn't matter if you fail because you love yourself regardless of that, that you are worth it regardless of that, and also redefining what failure means. Because does failure mean that you didn't get to gold in the amount of time you wanted to get to gold? Is that failure? Or like what really is failure? Is failure not even trying to get to gold in the first place? So those are kind of the things that I have that I just want you to really dig deep, and I just wanted to challenge you guys with. I'm going to pass it over to Lauren, and she is going to kind of take on more of not so deep stuff, I think. I don't know if she's going to get quite so, maybe she is going to get deep with you guys. Sorry, I'm not going to make any promises for her, but I'm going to pass it over to her.
I feel like I'm always the worst culprit of that. So I don't know. We'll see. No, I really like all that stuff. And I think it's so true. Like, kind of what I was starting to say is just that I've had like a lot of personal struggles with this stuff exactly. And when we were discussing, like what we wanted to have our first Zoom back and what we wanted to talk about, like these were the first things that came up for us. And I think a huge reason why is because behind closed doors, like us as leadership within the Diamond Tribe, like this has been a recurring topic for us to talk about and like how we've been feeling like that. And so one thing I want to say to you guys that's super important with this information is that it's so important, like wherever you're at right now in your journey, it's so important for you to be like doing these personal development and like mental and emotional strengthening and things that may not even seem related to your business at all, but they really, really are. Because I can promise you when you get to Senior Ruby and Emerald, if you don't have that junk worked out, like it affects you still at this point. And like, this is all stuff that we're learning together too. So we definitely don't want you to feel like we're sitting here preaching at you. This is literally all stuff that we're trying to work through as well. And so I think it's going to be great because it'll be something that we can all hold each other accountable to and just have like a more like open line of communication about it going forward. So I do want to move on to talking about like the restart aspect of it. And I liked that word when we were first trying to like come up with our catchy little name and like the topics that we wanted to cover. But one word that really kept coming to the forefront a little bit more for me after the fact was recommit. And I just want to share with you the Webster definition for it is to refer back to entrust or co-sign again. And then in addition to that, Jim Rohn, he's an author and motivational speaker. He has possibly the best definition I have ever heard in regards to commitment. I love what he said, so listen to this closely. Commitment: doing the thing you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has left you. And that one, I was like, ooh, like that one got me a little bit. I don't know if anybody else just felt that, but when I read it earlier, I was like, ouch, okay. But the thing is, like, it's so easy to get down on ourselves because we get into these like waning periods almost where we like are in this season and we just like don't even know why we're doing Plexus anymore. And I have felt that, and Brooke has felt that, and Kim, and like everybody has felt that. But like that is normal. And so it's so important to refer back to like the things that Brooke covered and what she was talking about, digging deep and figuring out why you're doing what you're doing. Because what I can tell you is, and what I want to focus on is that it is natural and normal. Like it's a natural and normal thing for those like feelings of excitement to fade. That happens with like a lot of things in life, almost anything. Okay. Like you get comfortable, you can get complacent, you get used to it. It gets boring. You don't have passion for it anymore. Like all of those feelings, that is super normal. Like that can even happen with a new car. Okay. Like, so let's talk about Leah. Leah got her brand new BMW, like convertible, super cute, looks like a little Barbie doll driving around in it. Love it. Okay. Or whatever. If you go get your brand new mom SUV, whatever it might be, but you go get a new car and it's shiny and new and there's no scratches and the hubcaps or the rims like are in perfect condition. Like you haven't ran into any curbs yet. The inside, it smells so good. You just get in and you like just take a big breath and like it's wonderful and amazing and you're so excited about it. And then 3 years down the road, there's like vomit and pee stains on your seats, and like you find trinkets of goodness underneath the seats like French fries and old socks. I don't know, like thank you children. Okay. But like, and it's not so exciting anymore. And so what do? You go trade it in or you go sell it and you get a new one because it feels good and you're excited all over again. So like, this is something that is like, it's so normal for us. Like we are intrinsically and like internally very inconsistent beings. That's who we are as humans. And so what we need to focus on then is like, what happens after that feeling fades? This is where people get lost in the mix and they have trouble. It's almost like an Achilles heel in inconsistency. Like it can be your detriment if you do not like push through and make the conscious decision to continue doing what you're doing. If you base it off of how you're feeling about Plexus, like you may not make it. So it's why people are left feeling frustrated, disappointed. It's like that self-fulfilling prophecy. We've talked about it quite a few times on different occasions, you know, like you start your business and you're super excited, but you're also skeptical. And then you go through it and you get more and more skeptical and a little more pessimistic about it. And then when it fails in your mind, when it feels like it fails or that good feeling wears off, you can say like, see, I knew it wasn't going to work for me. And that's not true. Maybe you just didn't give it enough time, or maybe you just didn't give it enough commitment or enough effort. And that's a hard thing to swallow. That's like a hard thing to deal with, but it's good to sit in those feelings of uncomfortability and actually like deal with that and then move forward rather than running from it or quitting. So you can talk about hours spent, routines, habits, and everything, but if you aren't passionate, if you don't immerse yourself in it, live how you need to live, do what you need to do, be who you need to be to make your dreams real, fully commit to excellence. If you don't do those things, you're going to be left with a vision, only a vision and a false sense of reality and like what things are actually like in real life and what's happening right now. So you really have to set your mind to it and then just go for it and crush it. So let's talk about 4 things that we can do specifically to all get back on the same page and all work on committing to our businesses. And so if you are into this and you're feeling like this is doing something in this region or like up here and in your heart or whatever, like if this talk and you're sitting here listening to this feels like this was something you really needed to hear, I would urge you to write these down and like go back and revisit them at some point. So number 1, don't just be involved, commit. So there's a difference between those 2 things. So you can be involved with Plexus or you can be committed to Plexus. There's an old fable that talks about a father and a son, and they're sitting down having breakfast together. And the son says, Dad, in school, we're learning about business and the difference between contribution and commitment. And I'm just not getting it. So like, can you help me understand that maybe? I can't really wrap my head around it. And the father says to his son, he says, son, look down at your plate and tell me what you see. And the son says, well, ham and eggs. And the dad says, well, the chicken made a contribution to your breakfast. The pig made a commitment. And so you may be able to create some momentums and some small victories and things with your Plexus business if you are involved. But in order to truly reach your goals, like the things that you actually want to get to, the point that you want to be at, maybe that time when you think like, okay, if I reach Ruby, then I'll be happy. Like I'll be able to replace my lost income from being a stay-at-home mom, or I'll be able to leave work and go stay home with my kids, as Brooke shared. If you are not committing to your business, you probably are going to have a heck of a time getting there, and it's going to get tough along the way. Number 2, if you won't learn how to commit, someone else will. This is helpful. Might not seem like that's like a helpful tip. That's more like, okay, what the heck, Lauren? Thanks for sharing that. But I have heard this so many times in this line of business in the last 2.5 years, and I have felt this way myself, where somebody joins at the same time as you, or somebody joins after you, and they start climbing the ranks quick, and like they take off like a rocket ship, and you're just sitting there like, what the heck? I've been working my business. I've been posting on Facebook, like, why isn't it happening for me? And you get upset about it. But the kind of silver lining in that, and the whole point of it, is if you won't learn how to commit to it. Someone else will. The beautiful thing about Plexus is that we are all given the same toolbox. Okay. So like we all have the same information provided to us. We have the same back office. We have the same compensation plan, the same leadership. We have the same YouTube videos. We have the same social media platforms. Like you all have the same thing that I have. I have the same thing that all the diamonds have. Like we all have it together. We just have to commit to utilizing it. And how you can utilize this particular tip is that competition is actually a good thing. Don't let other people's successes make you feel inferior or make you feel like a failure. Like Brooke said, if you set a goal for gold in 4 months and you don't hit gold in 4 months, but let's say you got halfway there, is that actually a failure? Absolutely not. It's just a different timeline. So you just move your goal back a little bit and you keep working at it. The failure is in quitting. Number 3, never give up and never give in. So getting back to quitting, quitting is also a lesson and it can be an expensive one. And what I mean in that is that it is expensive as far as the time that you give to it, the energy that you gave to whatever it was that you quit. And it also can bring a major blow to our ego, even though we inflicted that feeling on ourselves. It can leave us feeling like failures, like nobody likes to fail and nobody likes to lose. So there are 3 major reasons. There's 3 major reasons why people quit things. And the 3 things are perfectionism, lack of faith, and then the general inability to keep a commitment due to like a history of failures. You have to work to fight those things, you guys. You have to work to fight them, because we all, even if you're not labeled a perfectionist, like people like to win. Okay. People like to succeed. So those 3 things too, they're all intertwined. So maybe one is like a little bit more of a hindrance for you than another, but like ultimately they will all work together to kind of like get you to a quitting point, and you have to like stay mentally tough and work against that. And the 4th thing is free your mind and the rest will follow. Once you're committed, your mind almost kind of becomes like a homing beacon for greatness. Okay. So there's no more choices that you have to make once you decide to commit to something. All you have to do is literally just like focus on the target in front of you at that point. So like, what else is there to decide? Like if you decide to go all in and commit, and I say like, okay, I'm committing to fully working my business and then just like seeing where it takes me from here. Okay. I don't want to slide backwards in my business. I'm in single motherhood. I can't afford to make any less. Whatever it might be for you, if you commit to that, then there's no choices to make. There's no like, oh, should I post today or not? Should I send my 5 messages or not? Should I add 5 new friends on Facebook or not? They're not choices anymore. Like they're just things that you do. You already made the big choice. So everything else is like, it's not, you can't decide whether you're going to do it or not anymore at that point. And what happens when you suddenly change your mind? What if choosing to commit to your business is no longer as attractive as you previously thought? Because that definitely happens. We talked about it a little bit. That's when you make a choice. You weigh it heavily and you commit, and then you never look back again. And this is all like a part of that like recommit or restart almost feeling. And this is definitely something that like, this is a season that I'm in hard right now. So, a lot of my personals, I think everybody on here probably knows, a couple months ago, I transitioned into single motherhood, and like that relationship it just wasn't the greatest. It wasn't healthy for a while, and it really took a toll on me. It took a toll on how committed I was to my business. And I'm seeing that now, and it's a little bit scary. So I'm getting to a point where I'm realizing I can't keep saying, oh, I really need to get back into it. Like I need to put a post up tomorrow. Like instead you have to commit and just decide, and then stop making the excuses. Bottom line, commitment allows us to fulfill our most basic needs and achieve our most desirable dreams. It gives us purpose. You obviously have to choose something you feel good about, something you can stand behind. And what I can say confidently sitting here, whoever is listening to this right now, and I'm talking to you, I know Plexus is that for you because you decided at one point in time that you loved the products enough that you wanted to put yourself out there and share it with other people. So I know Plexus is that. So you might not be feeling like Plexus is that anymore, but it definitely is. You just have to get past like feeling, whatever. Like I don't know if I really love Plexus anymore. When that shiny facade starts to fade a little and you realize this might be a little bit more work than you think, that's when you have to mentally override and make a choice to commit. So that is all I have for you guys. We have about 5 minutes left. I would love to open this up if anybody else wants to get on and share anything. There's a lot of messaging going on. I love what you guys are saying here. It's like the honeymoon phase of a relationship. Doesn't last forever. Definitely. Oh my gosh, why does this always happen to me? I'm just going to start wearing turtlenecks. Good thing it's getting into sweater season. Anyway, so yes. So that's all I have. So if anybody wants to get on and say anything, please do. Totally okay if we don't. That's fine.
Well, I always have something to say, but I was going to wait to see if anybody else had anything to say. But I really like what you're saying because I think for so long, my whole thing was like, I'm doing this business in the nooks and crannies. And it was great and it worked for me. I would do it when I would pump or whenever, I was like, that was back when Ellie was still nursing and stuff. And it's been, I think, difficult for me to transition out of just doing it in the nooks and crannies to like actually treating it seriously. And like, you guys all know the nooks and crannies don't just happen. Like there's not a time. You're not just going to find extra time where you're like, oh, I could work my business right now. At least that's not how it works for me. So I have to intentionally set aside time for it. I can't just wait for extra time to show up because it doesn't happen. There's always housework to do. There's always kids that need something. There's always laundry that needs to be done, or I could always just go to bed. There's always other things that we can do. So if you aren't intentionally setting that time, it's not just going to happen. And I think that's a really big part of being committed is committing to, I'm going to set aside this time. And I like when you were talking about number 3, never give up and never give in. And then the 3 different things, I think you said the last one was history. Was that right?
Yeah, just like because of a history of committing to like a history of failures basically, so a general inability to keep commitments.
Yeah, and so we let those things kind of define us, or we tell ourselves like, I've never been able to do it before, so why would I now? Or like an example, I hate even saying this, but like I'm not a morning person, and I do not like mornings, but I try not to say I'm not a morning person because if I wanted to, I could make myself get up in the mornings, and I haven't ever committed to like getting up in the mornings and setting aside that time. And it's all about your headspace. And there's a really good book. Okay, I haven't read it, but Kyle's read it, and I've seen like how it's changed him in the seasons that he decides to commit to it. It's called The Miracle Morning, and they have them for different like things. They have a network marketing one. They have, I think, just a general one. They have them for different like seasons of life that you're going on. But it's all about setting your intentions. And so like the night before, like he wrote out all these intentions, and you like say all of these affirmations to yourself the night before. And so you're preparing yourself to do the things you need to do the next morning. So then getting up and doing this morning routine, that kind of starts your whole day off right. And so maybe mornings aren't right for you, but just to give that example of like how powerful your mind can be when we're talking about restarting your business, or just committing to doing anything, like, so I would challenge all of us too, just kind of taking that one step further, like make your own set of affirmations that have to do with committing to your business, and make it a point to read them every single day. Like, I will work my business today, or I will not be afraid if somebody tells me no, or, whatever those things are that you're struggling with. I would really challenge all of us to come up with a list of affirmations that pertain to those things. Like, I am strong. Like I can do this. It's okay if somebody tells me no, all of those simple things. But that can really make a difference when you are telling yourself those things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
That's all. Sorry.
No, that's cool. I think we are about to get kicked off here, but thank you guys for joining us tonight, and we hope you enjoyed our first Zoom back.